Part 2. Sex Manipulation. Certainly, everything related to sex and sexual sensations is deeply connected to a person's psyche. However, this is given very little importance in a person's education, because the less a person knows about themselves and their nature, the easier it is to control them. A person in a bad mood is an unhappy person. They are very weak, often get sick, and can be easily manipulated into accepting any idea, such as communism or Nazism, or forced to work in a job they dislike, all in the name of the greater good for society or a brighter future, making the ruling elite satisfied. Sex is the primary driving force behind fixing this person. Why is that? Look at a wild bull. You can't control it. You can't exploit it. It won't do things it doesn't want to do. Its whole nature is inclined towards freedom, and when it is free, the bull is happy and self-sufficient. However, if you were to castrate the bull and make them a steer, they become a slave and will obediently follow any orders, enduring abuse until death, with little resistance. A similar process occurs with humans. When people become liberated and open sexually, they begin to seek freedom and experience happiness, which is the essence of their being. And this is not profitable for factories producing harmful products, different items and pharmaceuticals, because a happy person seeks inner harmony and wants to be in nature, is happy in solitude, and becomes a source of happiness for others without the need for expensive external items, and is satisfied with the most essential things. But how can one turn a person into a mule? After all, a person is a more complex being than an animal, and to make a person a slave, much more cunning methods are needed, methods so hidden and invisible that it's challenging to believe in their existence. If we start to contemplate our lives and the lives of people even a little bit, we will see that humanity is in a primitive, dark, fearful, and ignorant state regarding sexual matters. This ignorance creates taboos on all sexual matters, and it is this ignorance that acts like chains, keeping a person in a slavery. A suppressed, constricted, complex, and fearful individual is the perfect screw in a societal system that seems to squeeze all the vitality out of people for its own purposes, without contributing to their development or fulfillment with anything good. When the screw wears out, grows old, they replace it with a new one. The old one is sent into retirement, and the person, in a broken state, completely unhappy, spends the rest of their life. Parallel to ignorance and prohibitions, sex is constantly present in the world around us, in one form or another. For example, any advertisement shows vivid sexual images that attract attention. Almost all movies are love stories, because most of human desires are a result of their sexual desires. We see a beautiful woman or an attractive man, and something inside us starts gravitating towards them. What is it? This is sexual energy seeking to be released. But most people don't know how to channel this energy in a way that benefits themselves and others. Instead of enjoying or directing this energy for personal growth, individuals often either suppress it, leading to illness, psychological disorders, and deep depression, or they express it through negative emotions, harmful habits, or even war, which results in significant adversity in life. What process occurs in a person when, for example, a woman sees a man in an advertisement or a movie? Since she lacks the knowledge about how to properly meet, communicate, and enjoy sexual energy, the woman starts to imagine kisses, hugs, love-making, and at that moment, sexual hormones begin to be injected into her bloodstream. They flow through the arteries into the brain, eliciting a sense of pleasure in the pleasure center present in every human. And every time we see a sexual image, this mechanism is triggered, and we experience a craving for that impression. A person desires to attain what gave them pleasure when they saw the advertisement. However, after acquiring this item, often entirely useless, they don't become happy. Because the cause of their desires wasn't the item they purchased, but the sexual sensations triggered by the advertisement image. As a result, a person spends their entire life searching for the images they once saw somewhere, or they were influenced by their close ones to have a desire for them. They strive towards these images, but at the same time, they remain unhappy. As time passes, their strength diminishes, and they begin to suffer and fall ill, not understanding why they are unhappy. They believe that they are doing everything they were instructed to do. This is indeed a form of human manipulation, imposing taboos on a topic of sexuality, hiding all knowledge, declaring it as lowly. At the same time, they promote the idea of happiness through the acquisition of various external objects, in which these sexual desires are supposedly fulfilled. As a result, individuals, in a rush, spend the best years of their lives and all their energy striving for these external possessions, not realizing that true happiness can only come from within. It comes through gaining freedom from all fears, complexes, and constraints, as well as through experiencing enlightened and sublime states. Another example is when in movies, TV shows, novels, or magazines, we see pleasant pictures, such as when a person creates a family. We witness that the individual aspired to have a family, and upon realizing this desire, found happiness. However, there is no mention of how to create a happy family, what difficulties may arise, how to overcome them, how to find a partner, and so on. A simple and pleasant picture is presented, showing attractive men and women creating a family. This image is imprinted in the subconscious and becomes a person's goal. Why? Because sexual desire and the associated chemical reactions in the body link the idea of creating a family, sex, and happiness into a single entity through the power of imagination. Indeed, imagination and real life are entirely different things. By living in their imagination and fueling your body with sexual hormones, a person may experience an illusion of happiness, while in reality, they can suffer greatly. For example, after the honeymoon period following marriage, a woman begins to notice numerous flaws in her partner. However, her imagination creates the impression that everything is fine, causing her to love not the real person but her own imagination of them. And instead of experiencing genuine happiness that could have been a part of her life, she starts to suffer beatings, drunken antics, and abuse from her husband, along with other domestic problems. But true happiness is only possible through living in reality, not in one's imagination. A person should start living in the real world, feeling their body, experiencing pleasant scents, thinking and living in a way that makes their entire life harmonious. You need to know how to live, and that's a whole art. Becoming a happy person can be achieved through understanding one's own being and all of the processes that take place within it. When you see sexual images, you may not notice how your breathing changes. Start to breathe deeply and take genuine pleasure in your breath. Feel the pleasant deep inhalation, the enjoyable slow exhalation. Listen to music and savor the pleasure of that moment. Right at this moment, you are in a state of bliss. Right at this moment, you are savoring your breath and the music. Such enjoyment from deep breathing can be experienced by a person at any moment in their life, and they don't need anything special for it. An open and uninhibited dance can only be such when the person performing it genuinely enjoys the movements. We can realize that only what a person does with pleasure is done well and harmoniously. People who pursue their endeavors with pleasure were often referred to as geniuses. Not because they possess extraordinary talent, but because they were fortunate to do what they enjoyed. And in that particular pursuit, they were geniuses. However, every person can become such a genius, and pleasure can be derived not only from a specific small task, but from every moment. Typically, if a person was successful in the fields of science or business, in all other aspects of life, they often suffered, struggled, got sick, and died in disappointment. In ancient times, individuals who could be happy in every moment of life were called tantrics. They couldn't be born as tantrics, it was something one had to learn to become. The science of this, known since ancient times, is called Tantra, the science of the art of living, the science of happiness. This science was the most important and valuable in a person's life because it helped them to be happy and thus to be successful in all aspects of life. Tantra asserts that a person is a sexual being because they were born through sex, and essentially, every cell in the human body is sexual. When a person's sexual energy circulates freely within their body, it makes their life vibrant, juicy, and fulfilling. That's why in ancient times, there were numerous temples that depicted the most complete expression of sexual energy, which is sexual intercourse. In a distant country like Bhutan, even today, houses are adorned with images of the male sexual organ as a symbol of energy leading to enlightenment. Since ancient times, sexual intercourse has been a way to increase one's sexual energy through contact with a partner. The more intense the sexual arousal, the deeper and more vibrant experiences they could have. These experiences would reveal a person's talents and abilities, making them a divine being and a source of happiness. Sex was defied because ecstasy, bliss, and other feelings available to humans could only be obtained by preserving and increasing their sexual energy. In ancient religions, such as Tibetan Buddhism, there were icons depicting deities engaged in sexual intercourse. Statues and liberated postures surrounded them because people understood that sex was an act of creating the most vibrant experiences available to humans.